On this podcast, you'll find interviews with high-performing, successful individuals in life sciences. On a weekly basis, we cover their proven methods, principles, strategies, and mindsets to implement new technologies that scale to meet the needs of people in our world.
Today, I'd like to welcome to the show Erich Bozenhardt. He's the process manager for IPS Integrated Project Services Process Group in Raleigh, North Carolina. He has 14 years of experience in biotechnology and aseptic processing business and has led several biological manufacturing projects, including cell therapies, mammalian cell culture, and novel delivery systems. He has a BS in chemical engineering and an MBA, both from the University of Delaware. So I would like to welcome to the podcast today, Erich Bozenhardt. First of all, welcome, Erich.
Thank you.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your career and what led you led you to this point. I guess you'll have to lead in a little bit too with what you and your father are currently working on as well.
Yeah, I guess you hit on one of the big points right there is my father. So how did I get here? I had other interests growing up, but he always was there showing me what was going on in the pharmaceutical business. Yeah, I remember even in high school, I got to take a tour of a biotech facility back when the facility was still SmithKline Beecham, a name that's been gone for a little while. And he did a really good job of building in that desire to get into the biotech space and some of those thoughts. The engineering aptitude and desire to take things apart, play with them, put them back together, that was always there. But he really nurtured it towards, hey, biotech is where you should be going, pharmaceuticals. So went to University of Delaware, got a chemistry degree, came out of school and went working for an engineering company. At the time, it was covering a whole breadth of different industries. So I could be working on a refinery one day, could be working on an API plant the next day. Did that for a few years and decided I really wanted to focus in on pharmaceutical, biotech. It was nice having the full flavor at that firm, but it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. So I took an opportunity, and when I did that, I moved down from Delaware to North Carolina and to focus in on pharmaceuticals. Wound up in an interesting spot because I thought it was going to be more design engineering type. And I wound up actually on a site helping them with remediations, the warning letter that they had received. And spending a lot of time. It was a sterile fill facility. So that was my real kind of introduction to hands-on renovation. How are we going to get this older facility up and running, turn it around, clear these discrepancies on the warning letter, at least from a technical standpoint at that point. And I did that for a little while. We made some progress, and part of me wanted to get back to the design. I really did enjoy being in the facility, seeing the aspects of the operation, understanding what was going on, but I wanted to be able to sit back, design again with a group. And so that led me to my next opportunity and where I am right now at IPS. And over the years, IPS's presence has grown in the business. And I had a very interesting opportunity back in 2014 working with some CMO that was doing cell therapy. And all of a sudden, there's this whole new set of opportunities that opened up, and we weren't treating diseases anymore. We were curing diseases potentially with these therapies. And the best part about it is, since they were a CMO, we were just seeing one after another on these design projects. And back then, we always think about cell therapies as relatively new in the last few years because most of them hadn't reached approval yet. And some of the big cells, the big CAR-Ts, hadn't launched yet at that point. But that was the real introduction for me into the space of cell and gene therapy, and really ignited a passion in me to see. It's amazing when I do a project and we're rushing, we're trying to compress schedules, we're going through very stressful moments of how can we do this, and at the end of the day, we turn over a facility, and this one we did in 11 months for CAR T therapy. The indication was for multiple relapsed cancer. And now these people who had 2-3 months left, 80-90% of them are surviving out past 2 years. Not only is it an amazing result in terms of the almost potentially curative nature of it, but by pushing hard and understanding and setting philosophies, making decisions early on, we were able to deliver that project in less than a year. Our normal timeline, our normal projection would have been about 16 months. So what does 7 months mean? Oh, it doesn't seem like a whole lot. But when you talk about the prognosis of these patients, that's another cohort or two of patients that were able to receive treatment because of our ability to accelerate that project.
And I've had the pleasure of working with an oncologist in the past part of my career, and sometimes what I've heard framed up, at least from the oncologist standpoint, is it could be another birthday, it could be another wedding, it could be who knows what, that at least even if you don't save everybody, that the sort of outlook is that it can at least enhance somebody's life, which is not really the way that I would frame it up personally, but it is the view that was given to me by a surgeon. So that's a great thing, getting things done ahead of schedule and being able to impact some additional people for sure.
Yeah.
I guess next up, tell me more specifically about your company and how does it work and how many clients do you guys see in a year currently?
IPS is a full service engineering, procurement, construction management, validation firm. What does that mean? The easiest way to put it is we can start from a business case and a greenfield and turn around a fully qualified facility that meets your needs. Now, not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants the turnkey solution. They feel that we want different people doing different things, more checks and balances type of situation. And so that's fine too. We also break that out. Actually, probably one of the things that we get a lot of requests for is our inceptioneering, which is somewhere earlier than concept. It's, you have an idea of what the business need is, but you haven't fully fleshed out a business plan. And so we help flesh out the business plan enough that it can be presented internally to the company. And actually, most of the time we do it as a PowerPoint slides that are on the company's template. So we'll do things like that, but then also at the same time, at the very back end, we do a lot of regular qualification and compliance work. And then we have separate CM and engineering services. So it really depends where people need us. But we are a little unique in that we're only focused on the life sciences business. So we're not like a lot of the other engineering firms out there that have a little bit of chemical, a little bit of this or that. And we've gotten to a pretty good size. We're about 1,400 people right now, spanning all across the U.S., Asia, Europe now. We've been delivering projects, even in EPCMD manner, across multiple continents. So we've grown quite a bit in the time that I've been there. What I do at IPS is focused in on the process piece of it, process engineering, and some of that inceptioneering type of work. I'm one of our subject matter experts in cell and gene therapies, and I also lead part of the process group down in North Carolina.
Okay. And so part of what you do as well is refurbish rooms, is what I would say, or reconstruct a room. So that's a portion of what you're doing as well?
Yeah, no, so that's going back to how do you accelerate projects? How do you move quicker? Or what the business case is. If I have an existing asset, there can be a lot of upsides to that in terms of how we go forward with a new product. If I have an existing shell, that's one less thing that I need to build, one less thing I need a permit. A lot of times, if we're talking about a true greenfield, what's going to be the big driver for project completion is site permitting. Able to skip a lot of that and just drive right into fit out if we have an existing shell. So that's definitely one aspect of the renovation that really makes people look at it if they need to go quick. But also at the same time, it's I have an existing shell, I have an existing space, potentially some existing utilities. So there's a potential there to have some cost savings in terms of how much I need to invest in order to build out this new manufacturing space. Obviously, along the way, we need to be careful of what are we really getting ourselves into, and that we're not trying to force fit something into an existing building, which does happen. People come up and say, hey, I've got this great building here, this great facility that we need to repurpose for this particular use. And it's not always a straightforward win. Sometimes the renovations, the fixes, what do we need to do to clean it up? It doesn't really make sense. But hey, we bulldozed every penicillin facility that we shut down in the U.S. because there's just no way to turn it over, to clean it up, and that we can prove reliably. That's an extreme example, but it's an easy, concrete example to say it doesn't fit.
And so from that perspective, you try and take more of the client's view on it, that look, the modifications are honestly going to cost more than what it's worth, or are there other things like government regulations and other things that lead you back to those harder decisions? Hey, look, we've got to knock this building down and start back from scratch.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So in terms of 2020 and IPS, what is your outlook right now with COVID? Is everything okay and things are continuing on, or have you actually seen an impact due to the COVID being around?
The biggest impact for us is because we are a service provider to the pharmaceutical industry is we are busier than we've ever been. We are actively involved in multiple COVID response projects. I think we actually even posted on our website our continual listing of different things, but we're working with Pfizer, for example. We're doing some work with Moderna and Lonza, and doing some work with Novavax. So we have all these projects, and they're all fast track. They're all, how fast can you do it? And everybody's behind it. Everybody's trying to find out how to do it. And the people at IPS have done such a great job of really pulling together to say, yeah, we understand the need just as much as everybody else, and we want to help these companies succeed. We want to help these products get to market. And for us, from an engineering side, it's been pretty easy to step out of the office and do that remotely. Most of the time, we've already been working in a digital world, digital tools, work sharing across offices, and having, whether it's Teams meetings or Zoom or WebEx, we were already doing that. And what this has just basically forced us to is that is the norm, and that's not a 50%, 60% of the time. It's 100% of the time, which it's been a little bit of a growing pain to adapt to, but we very quickly adapted, and we're doing good there. Some of our other groups, such as construction management, validation, they're still having to go out to site. They're still working through that, and we put in a pretty comprehensive program in terms of monitoring both the employees and also monitoring the sites that we're going to protect our people and our clients. We've even made a point on some of our jobs where we're the construction manager about had to adapt really quickly. We were actually doing some work with Emergent in their fill expansion right when COVID was happening, and 1 week we're like, we need to stop. We need to get everybody demobilized and send them home. And then it was like, wait, no, actually, no, we need to go the other way. We need to figure out what we need to put in so they could stay there and build that line and get it up and running and qualified so that when the vaccine is developed, they can fill it. And within a matter of a week or two, we had worked out what were our new procedures, how we were going to handle this. So it's been an interesting ride, but we've adapted. And I think where we are today, we're at a place where we feel very comfortable about delivering projects at any phase.
Excellent. And we're at the point in the show where I typically like to ask everybody 3 questions. And I'll start off with, what inspires you?
I guess my biggest inspiration is really just the world around me, just stopping looking at the things around me, whether it's looking at something in nature and or looking at a technical article and understand, a little bit more about biology of these. Been doing a lot of cell gene therapy, the complexity of the immune system and regulation of cell differentiation. It's massively inspiring of how sophisticated these control systems are. And then at the same time, I also find myself looking at a lot of stories about human perseverance and reading about how people have overcome things. And I put those 2 things together and I'm like, yes, there's something here. There's something here.
Yeah, the perseverance for sure right now is tremendous because of the times that we're in. But even if you look outside, for sure, perseverance is absolutely critical. What concerns you?
I guess what concerns me is all these ideas that come through, these fleeting ideas and missed opportunities, unfinished tasks. Those are the things that kill me, as these little light bulbs go on and burn out. And when they can have such an impact on people, that's the type of thing that keeps me up at night, is how can I capture that? How can I build on that and turn it into something? Sometimes it's hard to shut off my mind at night when I go to lay down. So I actually have a whole routine, and I use Google Keep for notes, and I just constantly have filling things in there, and that's my way of, okay, I'm going to assign all these opportunities, all these tasks, all these thoughts that I get from my inspiration, put them in this place, and this way I can at least park it for the night.
That's great. Yeah, it's great to be able to capture those things and also set them aside. But we all know that our minds still continue to work in the background at times.
Yeah.
All right. 3rd question. What excites you?
The ability to make a difference. That's really what gets me going. Is like that story I was telling you before about that CAR T facility we delivered super quick, or bringing some of these other therapies in. When I get to talk to people about it, and I see the impact on people, it's amazing. Somebody have cancer, and you talk to them about, it's not the end anymore. Have you looked at this? Have you talked to your doctor about this? Where are we? Whether it's sometimes it's the cell and gene therapy, sometimes some monoclonal antibodies that are out there. There's the checkpoint inhibitors have really changed the landscape, but it is also just other therapies and treatments. And that's what excites me, is to be able to take part in that, to be able to help those things move so that I can change people's lives, even though I'm just one guy. Okay, I made it on a podcast, woohoo! But other than that, I really don't think I have a lot of stuff. I don't feel like I'm not like a Superman that's running out. But at the same time, I know if I do my little part, we can make a big difference in somebody's life.
Yeah. Yeah, and being able to supply caregivers is a tremendous purpose overall. And first of all, thank you for the work that you do. Having bioprocess facilities that build the drugs that really enable patients to get better care is absolutely critical. And so from workers inside of the bioprocess facilities all the way through to the people that help to create the equipment and so on, I just would hope that they all do feel like they make a difference and that they're a contributor in that. So thanks for that. Secondly, thank you for being on the podcast. I greatly appreciate your joining the show. And it's great to hear your story, one, about getting to work with your father and kind of know his influence overall in your life. And then secondly, in terms of what you're doing with all the people that you do work with. So thanks so much for being here.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Life Science Success. For complete details about this podcast, including show notes, how to get in touch with guests, and more episodes, please visit www.lifesciencesuccess.com. If there's someone you'd like for us to invite to the show as a guest, please let me know by sending me a message at the podcast website. Please click subscribe on your favorite podcast app, share the podcast, or tell a friend about it, and last but not least, rate the podcast. Thank you again.